It is the radio guy, Mike Prince, and we are excited to have on the line with us right now the man who led the way. And it's hard to believe that it's 10 years ago this year, the Prairie View A&M University Panthers football SWAC championship. None other than KJ Black. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, man. And you're making me feel old, so let's try to change that if we can, just a little bit.
Well, if you feeling old, what you think I'm feeling on this end?
We're not even gonna get on that, man. Let's get to the nitty gritty.
Well, look, man, I really, really appreciate you making time. And as you just mentioned, man, it's amazing how fast time flies, and especially when it's something that's still fresh on your mind like that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's a story that, working for the university that I bring up often when talking to parents and recruits and things like that. But when you really sit down and think about how fast it has gone by, it's both scary and fun because you're continuing to grow, but you also get to relive and rethink about the things that you've accomplished as a team. So it was a great time.
Yes, sir. And a unique team it was. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But first, we have, I have this little thing where it's like my SWAC story, my PV story. Introduce everyone to the KJ Black PV story. How'd you end up at Prairie View? And this might sound like something very simple, but many people might not even know what KJ stand for. So tell us what KJ stand for, and then tell us how you ended up at Prairie View.
Well, KJ is basically Kenneth Jr. My name is Kenneth Black Jr., so I'm named after my father, Kenneth Black Sr., who is back in Louisville, Kentucky, where most of my family is in Kentucky and Tennessee. So technically, I'm not a Texan. I know a lot of people may or may not know that, but I spent a lot of time down here in Prairie View. It's been good to me. The university has been good to me, both athletically, professionally, socially. So, and I know a lot of people always associate me with Houston or with Prairie View, but I'm really a Kentuckian at heart. But my story, man, it's long, but I'm going to try not to make it long. I actually started at Western Kentucky. Was recruited by Willie Taggart, who's the head coach at Florida State University right now, and he was the reason why I chose Western Kentucky. And he left after my first year, went to Stanford, and so I was deemed a quarterback after he left, and I played for 2 years at Western Kentucky. Played in every game that I was eligible for after my redshirt year at Western Kentucky. Some things happened where, I just didn't make the right decision. I made a mistake like a lot of young men do. And then I decided to transfer and move on. Me and my family decided to transfer and move on. And I only had 3 schools that really were interested in me. I received a lot of calls, a lot of people trying to check on me, trying to get my story. And 3 schools at the end were really interested and stayed on me hard. And Prairie View was one of them. The Burgundy team down the road, Texas Southern, was another one. And North Carolina Central was the third. And I tripped them all except for Texas Southern because Prairie View was my second trip. And after I came down and seen the campus and met the people at Prairie View and met the team, seen how good the team was, it was an easy decision for me from there. And, 10 years later, here I am with a ring and a wife and a job that I love. And here I am. So.
And don't forget the baby girl now.
Oh, yeah.
Baby girl.
Look, my wife's gonna kill me when she hears this, but yeah, and now my 1-year-old daughter. So it was a great decision. It was a tough decision, but it's definitely paid off in my favor, and I'm blessed for it.
Well, you talk about when you had to visit with Prairie View and how things were, I guess, a done deal once you got on the campus. When you go back and you reflect that you admittedly, you said you made some choices that wasn't the best choices, and Prairie View was able to give you that second lifeline you are able to adjust to now. Do you see that as some of still the principles of Prairie View today?
Yeah, I do. And it's funny, now that I think about it, that's kind of where college football is going, especially with the FCS and the HBCU ranks, where people are given second chances. A lot of these transfers either make decisions, the wrong decision to choose that school, or something that happens that they make a mistake themselves and they end up getting a second chance. And Prairie View was the place that gave me that second chance, and I'm forever grateful for it. I mean, I never thought that I would leave or be too far away from Louisville. But here I am today. I'm, in almost another region of the country, and to be honest with you, I don't have any desire to go back because of how great things are down here in Houston for me. I go back when I can, but I mean, when you talk about a revelation and letting the Lord take you where He wants you, that's truly what happened to me. So I'm blessed and excited.
We are speaking right now with KJ Black, a former quarterback for Prairie View A&M University. As a matter of fact, the last championship quarterback for Prairie View A&M University, and he is now currently on staff with Prairie View, coaching the tight ends right now. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you've experienced this thing as a player, as a coach, and as an alumnus, what is it like for you to be on the daily grind back and forth for the purple and gold?
It's rewarding. And I say that because, like you kind of mentioned already, I now have a chance to tell young men my story and tell them what to look for and what not to look for when making decisions to choose a university. To, I'll be honest with you, as a coach, I get to help young men choose, um, or at least give them advice to make correct decisions throughout their 4 to 5 years at Prairie View, because a lot of people don't understand the role of a coach. I'm not just an X and O's person. They don't just come to me for plays. They call me about, making decisions, going out with women, with their parents back home, with brothers and sisters, with confrontations from other students. There are a lot of things, a lot of hats that a coach wears. And so to be able to help young men who I can say, hey, I've experienced that here on this same campus is rewarding to me. And so I enjoy doing it every day.
Absolutely. And it's a little strange when you were once as a student on the yard, now you're an employee on the yard. So you're seeing things from both sets of glasses.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. I just the other day we were at a 6 a.m. workout with the players, and just seeing them talk about how rough and tough it was, and then having to say, "Man, I got a test here in about 30 minutes." So yeah, I've been there. I've been there, and then they were talking about, "Well, coach, I have to do this test, and I have to drive back home and do this for my mom." And say, "Yeah, it's part of being a student athlete. It's also part of being a man. I got to handle my business here on the field, then I got to handle my business in the classroom, then I got to make sure my people are all right. It's not just wake up and play football all day." Same thing with me. I just don't wake up and coach all day. I got to take care of my family too at the end of the day.
That's
So
right.
it's
That's right.
it's just a part of life that I enjoy telling guys all the time. Man, you got to have a plan. You got to handle your business. You can do both of those things. You're gonna be all right in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's go back to 2009. You made the decision to come to Prairie View. You see the assessment of the squad that you have, and you're going through the season, and you can tell as the momentum is building. When did it click off for you, KJ, that you were a part of something special?
I'll be honest with you. I knew it before I made my decision. When I came on my official visit to Prairie View A&M, I came for the last home game in 2008 season, and I forget who they were playing. I want to say it was Pine Bluff. Uh, I remember they put at least 50 on the team. And I remember sitting down later that day with Coach Frazier, the head football coach, and offensive coordinator, Coach Mike Bryant. And they told me, said, man, everything you've seen today is coming back except the quarterback. And so I looked at my father and I looked back at Coach Frazier. I said, everybody. He said, the receivers, the running backs, the O-line, everybody's coming back. Just don't have the quarterback. So that night, I sat there and thought about it. I said, man, if they hanging 50 pieces on people and they have everybody coming back, I mean, that's not a hard decision to make.
Sign me up.
Absolutely. If we're talking about winning championships and we're talking about enjoying life and seeing the campus life and seeing the crowd and how involved they were and how much pride they had in the purple and gold, I was like, man, this is easy. Sign me up. I'll be here in January.
So you come back, you see the specialness of this unit, and you begin to build a bond. And a lot of people don't understand there are things that go on off and on the field, in the classroom, in the social gatherings, in the brotherhood, the fraternity, if you would, that is bonded between teammates and ball players that help build you guys for lifelong relationships and partnerships.
Absolutely. And funny thing about that, I was just in the wedding of one of the players that was on my visit that hosted me to come here to Prairie. So that bond started before I had even signed the papers. And it's But people don't understand that. You go to college for a lot of different reasons, man. A lot of different, and you really don't realize it till you're on the other side of it, till you reach that degree, and then you look back and say, man, I accomplished all these different things in this 4 or 5 year span. And just to think that I would transfer and immediately make a friend in Sean Stevens, who ended up being, one of the great receivers I would throw to on a consistent basis, and Anthony Whedon, who was an All-American, that was one of the reasons I came, because I knew how talented he was, and Anthony Beck, who was a All-American, and James Deagle was All-American. All those guys on my visit I met and had a great interaction with, and knew, okay, it's something there. These guys are genuine. These are real down-to-earth people, and I could see myself here. And here I am, 10 years later. I'm still here interacting with those same people. So, man, it was a blessing that I even got to meet those guys.
Man, it's just amazing. And a lot of people, they underestimate sports, and I'm the one that believe that you can tie sports into anything, religion, politics, social. It can be a tie to it. And it's just the power that's within this thing. We're fortunate right now on the line with KJ Black, 2009 quarterback champion for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Been coaching with the Panthers now. How long you been on the staff now, KJ? Forget 6, 7 years now?
2 years as a GA under Coach Heisman Northern. Then I did 3 years with head coach Willie Simmons, and then this is my second year under Coach Eric Dooley. So this is going to my 7th year. Yep.
Man, you are getting old, brother.
I told you that. I told you I wanted to change. I wanted to change the direction that we was heading, because I knew where it was going.
Well, look, you've been under the dynamics of 3 different coaches, and every person that you get a chance to get up under, you learn something to help make you a better coach. Are you at liberty to say at this point what is it that you've learned from each coach that you've been under that is making KJ a better coach?
I could take a stab at it. Especially, let's start with Coach Northern, who's someone that I still interact with from time to time. I seen him last semester, matter of fact, and he was doing well and smiling as always, talking about his son, who, if you know Coach Northern like I know, he loves his kids and his family. So we were talking about how well his son is doing athletically and stuff like that. But I think from Coach Northern, I learned how to be patient. He was a man that demanded a lot of his players and of his coaches, and also you could tell he loved his players and his coaches. But he never let anything really get him riled up too far, and he was always patient, saying things would work out. So I learned a lot from Coach North in that regard. Coach Simmons, I learned a lot X and O wise. Just watching him close and afar, close being in the meeting room with him, watching him draw up plays and strategically pick people apart, to have the offense that he did here and both at Alcorn was truly amazing, and something that I will always take with me, especially from that regard. He was another man of patience and never let adversity rile him up too much. He would always have that mindset that I'll get the last laugh, or I know how to react to something. He was always like that on the field. And so, I always take that from him. And from so far from Coach Dooley, one thing I've learned is I have to take, everything seriously more as a family man, as a man of God, and then also as a coach. I have to learn how to tie all that in. He does a good job of that, and so I'm trying to learn, now that I've gotten a little older, how to tie it all in and balance it all, and I think he does a good job of that. So, you can take something from everything. You can always learn what to do and what not to do from anything. And so I'm definitely doing that, and I appreciate all 3 of those men for what they've given me professionally and as a man.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are visiting with KJ Black, former quarterback, now on the football staff of Prairie View A&M University, 2009 SWAC champions, victorious over Alabama A&M Bulldogs in Birmingham. Now, it was actually cold, man, and kind of wet that day.
Man,
recapture that day for you, for us and those that are listening, from afar, on what was the mood, man, going into championship game.
The mood was at an all-time high. I remember the night before the game, man, you could hear the people downstairs talking and celebrating before the game was even played. This the night before, but you could hear the alumni and stuff downstairs in the lobby, how excited they were for the game.
Hmm.
You were hearing stories of how far people were coming to come and support the team from Houston, from other parts of the country because they were alums. They never thought they'd see the day that Prairie View would be in the championship game. And just to take that to another level, I remember being at the Grambling game and seeing alumni crying because we beat Grambling State. And so, for them and for me as well, that will always be a memory that I'll take, with me to my grave is what it meant for Prairie View A&M to be back on top, at that game. And then when we're talking about the game specifically, I remember going into the locker room pregame before we went out onto the field to kick it off. So I had been out there warming up for 45 to 50 minutes, and I could not feel my fingers. And this was before we even kicked the ball off. So trying to remember how I was able to throw the ball and, navigate and hand the ball off and not put the ball on the ground and stuff like that, man, is, I look back and try to figure out how we did it. Myself and Donald Bayers, the running back, and the receivers, how we were out there catching and throwing and running the ball in below freezing temperature like we had done it before, knowing we were from Houston and every game was hot. We were sweating in every game. Now all of a sudden we can't feel our fingers pregame. So we went out and took care of business, man, and I'm so glad that we got it done. And like I said, I had seen it before it even happened. I seen that we was capable of doing it, and we went out there and handled business.
Now, one thing that people who may not be aware of your style, you were more of a prototypical, somewhat of a pocket quarterback. You would run when you had to, but you were picking people apart when you played, man.
Man, I get on my players all the time. One of our signees now, it's a funny story. His name is Marcus Whitaker, one of our tight ends. He had never watched my highlight tape before he signed, before anything, until probably a couple of weeks ago. And so we were getting ready, to walk out of the facility, and he came up to me. He said, "Coach, man," he said, "you didn't tell me you was a quarterback version of Boobie Miles." I said, "Marcus, wait a minute, time out. Time out." I said, "So you watched that whole highlight film. You come to me talking about I'm running the ball." I said, "What about me throwing the ball?" He said, "But coach, you was running and spinning." I said, "Yeah, that's nice." I said, "But I play quarterback. My job is to facilitate the ball. I run because I had to. I didn't do it because I wanted to." And so he's like, "Yeah, but you was nice at it." I said, "Man, look," I say, "we're gonna talk more ball eventually because I gotta get your mind right because you over here looking at the wrong stuff, man." But I took pride in that, man. I took pride in giving the ball to the guys. I took pride in checking the ball down when I had to the running back. I wanted to be a point guard. I never wanted to be the scoring guard. So I enjoyed, throwing and having the high completion percentage and giving those guys a chance to do what they wanted to do with the football rather than taking it and tucking it and trying to run for 200 yards. That's just not how I was built and how I see the game being played.
Well, you speak of that right now, and there's no secret to the madness, in particular of college football today. I won't even just limit that to HBCU. A lot of these guys, they are running backs with an option to throw. Do you see that changing the entire dynamics of the game for the good or for the worse?
I don't think it's for the worse. I think when you talk about versatility, I don't ever see how versatility is a bad thing. Do I think it could be a little top heavy sometimes one way or another? Yes. But I think if you can have that perfect blend of athleticism, with your feet and the ability to play the game cerebrally with your mind and with your arm, I think that's a perfect blend. That's something that not a lot of people can do consistently. Usually you'll watch a game, even if you watch it on Sundays, you'll watch somebody dominate with the arm, but they can't really move because they don't have, the line in front of them, and they can't really move to evade pressure and make a play out of the pocket. And you'll see some guys who can't really win the game with the arm, so they have to rely on their feet. But when you have that perfect blend, that guy that can run just enough, it can also kill you and throw for 400 yards, he's tough to deal with because you don't know what to stop. So I think versatility is the key, especially from we're talking about quarterback play. If you can be versatile, be able to win the game in multiple ways, it's always going to be a tough day for the defense.
Absolutely. Now, there would not be a Mike Prince interview if I don't ask you a question that's going to make you scratch your head, and some might think
here we go.
Put you on the
spot.
Mike. Here it comes. Here it comes. Get ready,
man. I'm ready.
And other than your team that you're currently coaching, the Panthers, we are going to exclude them. Which quarterback in the conference reminds you of yourself with their style of play?
See. I'll put it like this, I talk about quarterback play a lot, especially with the coaches in our staff room and stuff like that. Because I think I've mentioned it to a few people. Last year was really the year with that we didn't know who was going to have the elite quarterback throughout the conference because a lot of guys had graduated. There were a lot of unproven guys. Well, this year we got the quarterbacks that we got some returners, some great returners. You've got Noah Johnson at Alcorn. You've got Jalen Morton here. You've got Mr. Glass at A&M. You've got guys that have proven that they could do it. But then you've also got transfers that have transferred in with high profiles that we're expecting a lot from them. Even Southern has a kid last year that transferred in that made waves and took them pretty far last year. So now this year is the year of the quarterback. So if I had to pick one, I would say probably Glass at A&M. I kind of like his game. I think he reminds me a little bit of me, maybe not, a complete mold of my playing ways, but I like the way he spins the rock. And you could tell he likes to distribute the ball. So I'll say Mr. Glass, Akil Glass in Alabama A&M.
Okay, that's a good enough question. Now, I didn't want to put no pressure on you about picking someone on the staff because that would have really been digging it to you then, man.
I would have had to defer that one. I would have to deflate that one.
Right, but no, but in all fairness, this conference is full of talented ball players, and the quarterback, of course, is going to always be the main attraction. But as you mentioned, being a true point guard, you want to feed everyone else around you. And you had a heck of a protection up front, man, when you played. You rarely got sacked during your career at Prairie View. And remember the guys up front that just kept the protected hand around you, man. How critical and vital was it to make sure that your line was taken care of on and off the field?
That's rule number one. You can't play the position if you don't have those five guys in front of you. And really nowadays you have to add the sixth guy, whether it's the tight end or the running back, because of how many times people are throwing the ball now. And for me, when I was playing, I had returners, so I knew I had guys that had played, that had experience, but I also had good men, man. When I met those guys, and I met Stoney Owens, who was my center both my junior and senior year, who is now a coach. So that tells you about his, football mindset, his football IQ. And you talk about James Deacon, who was one of the nastiest O-linemen I ever played with, who was an All-American at guard and was an undersized offensive lineman. But when you watch his tape, people highlighted him and said, we have to figure out a way to get past him. We can't let him take us 10 yards down the field like he's doing everybody else. And you talk about Tim Tussey, and you talk about James Blanton, and you talk about there's so many guys. You're talking about Thad Wesley. There were so many guys on that O-line that could hold it down, man. And I never, and this is the God honest truth, I never dropped back and thought, man, I have to get the ball out of my hands right now. I knew I could sit there and go through my progression because I knew, number one, Stoney was going to direct it, and number two, those dudes were strong and they had good feet, man. And they were going to take care of me. Just like, they took care of me off the field, they took care of me on the field as well. So I was never walking into a game saying, I got to get the ball out of my hand. Never did I ever have that mindset.
KJ, here we go. We got a lot of unsung heroes that make up a championship squad. Of course, you're the quarterback. Everybody will know KJ Black, KJ Black. Could you, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but could you name off some guys who fit that unsung hero banner as far as you're concerned?
Oh, man, when you talk about players that actually made an impact, probably bigger than I did, it starts with guys like Donald Babers, who was a running back there and started at running back for 3 years straight and was a 1,000-yard rusher a couple of years. You talk about Anthony Whedon, who I mentioned earlier, who was an All-American punt returner and slot receiver, who is right now actually is a coordinator on the D2 level. So that talks about his football IQ. You're talking about guys like James Deacon, who was an All-American I mentioned earlier, who was our starting guard and one of the toughest guys. You talk about Stoney Owens, who was an all-conference player. You talk about Q, who was a defensive MVP at defensive end, who played in the NFL. You talk about Anthony Beck, who was an All-American safety that had a shot at the NFL. You talk about Chris Adingapu at safety, who had a shot at the NFL. You talk about there's a lot of guys on that team, man, that were ball players that were that have the accolades that people really just don't know that they should know on that team. 'Cause that team was special, man. It really was. The talent that I seen in that one game out there on that field and on my visit, I knew that all those guys had big time talent and at the time had talent that probably should have had them at a bigger level, but they were at Prairie View, and I wanted to be a part of it because I seen it, and I knew if I just went and learned to be a Panther and learned how to work like they work, and the sky was the limit. So it was guys like that really put Prairie View over the top.
Well, that right there, my friend, is why people love and respect you as a quarterback, because you have the humbleness to know that you couldn't do it by yourself. And it took a village to raise a Kentuckian to make him a Texan. So I guess that makes you a Kentuckian.
No, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You gonna get me in trouble back home? You talk. Look, to everybody back home listening, hey, I'm still a Kentuckian at heart. I'm still a Kentuckian.
Well,
so let's get that straight.
I understand. Well, see, I'm from Missouri originally, and I'm in Texas, so I'm a Mo-Texan. So it happens. You're a Kentuckian.
Yeah. You saying that, not me.
We're talking right now with KJ Black of the Prairie View A&M University 2009 football SWAC champions and current staff member of the 2019 Panthers. Well, I hope you're taking care of those guys today, man, because they are the reason that you're able to have this conversation that we're having today, because you could have been broke up somewhere and didn't even know you was in the land.
You're right. And when they hear this, they're going to be on me. So I appreciate you for starting this fire up again, because now they're going to be on me saying, man, don't you owe me something? Ain't you supposed to be on the grill for me right now? I appreciate you for starting this up.
Hey, man, that's what big brothers are for, right?
Look, see.
We're talking right now with KJ Black. 10-year anniversary for the Panthers winning the SWAC championship. It is amazing how the time truly does fly. Now, KJ, we've had a chance to reflect, and hopefully this won't be the last time that you get a chance to visit with us here on the show. It is always a joy and a pleasure to speak with PV Nation and SWAC Nation as a broad, man. But I want to ask you, what and how has Prairie View impacted your life?
Prairie View has impacted me, and I kind of mentioned earlier in many different ways. But if I could narrow that down, I would say Prairie View has taught me how to build and nurture relationships. What I mean by that is number one, how to meet people. When you come to Prairie View, that's the first thing in my mind I think about is the people. Whether I'm meeting people from Texas, or I'm meeting people from California, or I'm meeting people from Florida, you're going to meet people from all different walks of life. And what it's going to do is going to, number one, introduce you to different ways, different cultures, but it's also going to teach you how to associate yourself with different cultures in different ways. You're going to learn a lot about yourself because of the people that you're going to meet at Prairie View. And I tell people all the time, the thing that has kept me at Prairie View is the people. You know, the way that you are treated at Prairie View, the way we treat our own, the way we love our own and take care of our own is why I'm still here. And I'm excited to tell people that story. When I go out recruiting, I tell people, Prairie View, take care of Prairie View. And that's one thing I can guarantee, those players and their parents is that, number one, I'm going to take care of your son, but also Prairie View's going to take care of your son. And I'm a living, fact of that. That's why I'm still a part of this university. And so I think when it comes to me being associated with Prairie View, that's the one thing I take away from it. The people, man. The people are what make this campus great. When I came on my visit, in 2008, we didn't have the nice facilities we have now. And I tell that story a lot. I said, they didn't even show me the athletic part of the campus. They showed me the people. They showed me the people I'll be working with. And that's what made me sign. It wasn't the field. It wasn't the weight room. It wasn't the living arrangements. And that fact is still true today. So I think that's what Prairie View really taught me was about relationships and how to interact with people.
Amen and hallelujah, brother. You bring up old Blackshear Stadium, and I know we're in new and improved Blackshear Stadium or Blackshear Field, however you want to identify. But don't you kind of miss that old place, man?
This is the thing I miss about Blackshear. I miss the crown on the field. I used to love standing in the middle of that field, man, and throwing that out route and seeing the field literally dip, because it was a big crown in the middle of that field.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that crown dip down to the sideline, I would have to change my arm angle and how I would throw my out route. That's what it's about Blackshear. You used to have to get out there and figure out that crown every day. I miss that, man. I also miss the win. Every day at Blackshear, it was going to be a win, and it was going to come from one corner to the other every time, and that win would never change. I miss those small things like that.
Yes, sir.
And also, and I'll tell you one other thing I miss. I miss the people being around the fence 3, 4, 5, 6 deep trying to see the game.
Yes, sir.
I missed that too.
Yes, sir. Well, those are the jokers didn't want to pay to get in, so
that's all right. They were there though, so I love them to
no doubt, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. Now, one thing for those who are listening to my crown, what are you talking about? The crown on the field? Well, the crown on the field was in the center of the field, was at like a little hill almost, and it's the drainage. So when it did rain, you didn't get puddles in the middle of the field.
And Blackshear was good at that too, of handling rain and stuff like that. So, and it was because of that crown.
Yes, sir. It was because of that crown, and that was an old technique that they still use in some of the fields that would still use grass surfaces today. That crown is a part of it, and a lot of people didn't realize it. But adjusting to the crown, I have to remember that, man. I have to remember that. Look, KJ, man, this has definitely been a treat. I know for me and those who will be listening to this. Do you want to have any closing thoughts and comments, man, as we get ready to shut this segment down?
Yeah. What I want to do is just say thank you to, number one, my teammates, man, from that team. I know I still interact with some of them. A lot of them I wish I still interacted with, and I'm excited to see them whenever we get a chance to get together. But I just want to thank them for, number one, taking me in. Again, I was that Kentucky boy who was coming down to Texas, so it was a little bit of a culture shock, but I want to say thank you to them for taking me in and helping me grow as a man, because I know I came there at 19 and left. I haven't left yet. So I've been there a while, and I've learned a lot, and it started with them, so I wanted to thank them. I wanted to thank Coach Frazier and the coaching staff for also teaching me life lessons as well on how to become a better leader and a better man and stuff like that, so I'd like to thank them. And then finally, I would like to thank the support staff and the alumni and things like that who back then still, will come and help me out in different ways as far as, talking to me and trying to teach me different things. I learned so much, man. I keep saying that. I know I'm tired of beating that, or people are tired of me beating that drum, but I learned so much during those early years here at Prairie View, man. And I just want to tell everybody thank you, and I'm excited, for what is to come for the 09 team, because I know we've already been inducted to the Hall of Fame, and there's still more for us to accomplish and do for Prairie View. So I just wanted to tell them thank you, and go Panthers as always.
Go Panthers. And, brother, you can say thank you to the cows come home. I don't think it'll ever get old or tired. It's just a part of the nature of the beast. He is KJ Black, starting quarterback for the 2009 champion Prairie View A&M University Panthers, celebrating the 10th anniversary with his old self. I am the radio guy, Mike Prince. We want to thank you, as always, for joining in with us. Remember, our social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter are at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. And, of course, the website is obnradio.com. You can call in on the 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736. And until the next time, you guys be blessed. We'll see you on the other side.